Hello, I'm Professor Ken Field. I'm chair of the biology department here at Bucknell University. And it's been a couple weeks since I've shared with you an update about uh, COVID-19 here at Bucknell. And there's been a large number of positive cases lately. And I wanted to give you an update on that. There's been almost 100 students and faculty and staff who have tested positive in the past week here at Bucknell. And that's, of course, a really significant concern. The positive cases have included 90 students and 4 faculty and staff. And so we're taking steps and extra precautions to help um, control the spread of SARS-CoV-2 infection here on campus. But I wanted to kind of try to put this latest increase in cases in perspective for all of us so we can better understand what might be going on. So here you can see the testing positivity results over the course of starting back at the beginning of the semester, of the fall semester. And you can see that during the fall semester, we had very low positivity rates. I've indicated here 0.5% 7-day average positivity rate as a threshold where we start to get concerned. And you can see that towards the end of the semester in the fall, we had 2 peaks that approached or crossed that threshold, and then a third right at the end of the semester as students were going home. And these were, of course, reasons for concerns, and we adapted our policies and to accommodate those extra potential transmission on campus. You can see that once most students went home and we were only testing faculty and staff and only testing faculty and staff every 2 weeks or less, the data gets very noisy and we have a lot of ups and downs in this due to that infrequency of the testing. But you can also see that the positivity rates were quite a bit higher among the faculty and staff and the remaining students that were on campus during this time than we had seen before. And so that's one thing to be aware of. Of course, this coincided with a peak in community spread of COVID-19. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a minute. What you can see is that since winter break, we started off with around 0.5% testing positivity rate, and that has steadily climbed as we've tested students over the past 2 weeks. So this now is approaching 2.5% testing positivity, which is around what we saw for much of winter break here on campus. To kind of compare that to what's going on more broadly in the community, I've downloaded the latest data on positivity test rates for Union County, and this covers all the way back to April. So the data that I was just showing started in August this past year, so it was this part of the calendar here. And you can see that we had in Union County a very high level of positivity during the same period of time that coincided with our winter break here at Bucknell. If you look at the y-axis scale here, you can see that the positivity rates are much, much higher than we've ever seen on campus, but that is predominantly because testing at the community level at Union County is only done to symptomatic individuals or due to contact tracing. If you feel that you've had some potential risk of getting exposed, you might choose to have a test even if you're not symptomatic. So as a result, the positive test rates are much higher because there's a high likelihood if you have symptoms or you've been exposed that you will test positive. It's important to note that we had a decrease towards the end of January, and we were heading back into much more comfortable zone of low positivity rates, but we were not able to sustain that trajectory, and we've had some recent increases in positivity test rates. So when we think about positivity here on campus, many people think of the Bucknell bubble and how we were able to keep positivity rates much lower than in our community because we have more strict infection control and better compliance with different policies. And that is in large part the case. But if we look at the comparison of these two graphs that I've shown you now, you can see, and I apologize for the data visualization here. This is very clunky, but I don't have time to do it right. You can see here I've overlaid the campus results, including both faculty, staff, and students, to the Union County results. And I've shrunk them down so that they're on the same scale on the y-axis, and they line up more or less on the dates here. And you can see that the peaks that we had at the end of the fall semester actually did coincide with peaks in community spread as well. And we had increased testing positivity in our community at the same times we had increased testing positive rates on campus. Now, of course, Bucknell is part of the community, and we need to recognize that we contribute to those results. When we have a peak here on campus, we do contribute positives to Union County's data, but these are much higher numbers than just those of us who work on campus. And as you can see here, we had high levels in during winter break that were coinciding both here on campus and in the broader community. As we approached the end of January, rates did start to fall. And by the beginning of February, when we started classes here on campus, we were in this medium positivity rate zone as opposed to the very high risk zone. So what does this mean for the spring semester? Well, it's hard to know right now. We are definitely seeing a concerning spike, and we are isolating students as we can. And I think that students are getting the message that we have to take this very seriously, that the implications for this are very serious. And so we hope that this will just be a momentary spike like we saw occasionally during winter break when we were testing not very frequently. But with the frequency of testing, it's harder to know whether or not we would get this kind of statistical jumpiness of the data. Hopefully we can get this back under control very quickly. There's reasons for concern though in the wider community as well. You can see here, this is another data download from COVID Act Now, and they are plotting here the daily new cases here in Union County. You can see that we had been on a downward trajectory since a peak in the early to mid-January, but that we now might have seen, that might have bottomed out, and we might be seeing an increase back in case numbers. We really all need to take the precautions seriously. The new guidance from the CDC to wear close-fitting masks is very important. Tying the ear loops if you have disposable masks that go over your ears. Wearing a second cloth mask over a disposable mask is also really good. That gets you almost to the same level of protection that you can get with an N95 or a KN95 mask. And those are still really hard to obtain. So I encourage you to double mask if you're going to be indoors with other people at all. I'll be issuing another video sometime later this week to talk about how to discuss with students how to better implement some of these precautions. Please take care of each other, take care of yourselves,